Welcome to Follow the Woo podcast. Fen Alankus is who I am. And I am a paranormal investigator and an eclectic witch. I also am the creative director of New Blood Universe, an indie paranormal production company.
I'm Megan, also known as the Queer Crypt. I am a paranormal investigator and researcher.
We're still following our curiosity wherever it takes us, from witchcraft and spooky folklore to true accounts of ghosts, demons, aliens, fairies, cryptids,
near-death experiences, interdimensional travel, and all the woo.
Through interviews, investigations,
and stories,
we will be exploring some of life's most intriguing mysteries, high strangeness,
and weird phenomena.
So, you know the drill, y'all. Hold on to your butts.
This just might be the weirdest part of your day.
Ooh. Great. Welcome to the show.
Welcome
to the Follow the Woo. Hi, how are you? I love you. You're amazing. You look cute. Why are you wearing that fluorite?
Why are you wearing that fluorite?
Yeah, what's it for?
It's for self-love.
Yeah.
And also, it's good for your relationships with others.
Really?
Because you know why?
Somebody tell her it's not working.
Do you know why?
Just kidding. Why?
Because your relationships with others start with the relationship you have with
yourself. We love ourselves. Love yourself.
Yeah.
Love yourself.
I love myself.
I love myself.
I do.
Do you love yourself?
We're learning.
How to
love ourselves.
We're learning how to love ourselves. Hello. I am Fen Alankus. I am a paranormal investigator and host of this Ding Dang Dong podcast, Follow the Woo. And I also am the creator director of New Blood Universe, which is a paranormal production company like none other. And I'm here with my glorious co-host, Megan Toutant.
I'm Megan Toutant, also known as the Queer Crypt from TikTok. I'm a paranormal investigator and researcher. I also research folklore. And I'm new to my exploration of witchcraft and the occult.
Jeez. I'm an eclectic witch.
Yeah.
And you're a baby witch. But you're powerful.
Just a baby.
But you really are powerful.
Thanks.
You're very fucking psychic. She's very fucking psychic. She doesn't even know how psychic she is. She's dead right every single time. And also you fucking ectoplasmed while you were pooping the other day.
Okay. Whoa.
Back up.
No one said I was pooping, FYI. Listen, that was really creepy and that was last night.
Let's talk about it.
Okay. Well, first of all, yesterday was just weird.
It was a weird, energetic day.
It started off, you were having a shower and Amelia was in the kitchen and I was in my bedroom and I was writing things on this little notepad here.
Oh, yes. This is the first thing.
This is the first thing that happened.
Okay, I get it.
And there was a knock on my door and I was like, come in. Thinking it was you, potentially Amelia, but probably you. Even though normally,
I need you.
Even though normally you don't knock.
I'm just like, hey.
and then nothing happened. I was like, come in. Like, what's the hold up here? So I open the door. No one's there. And I go to Amelia. I'm like, did you knock on my door?
And where was she again?
In the kitchen. And she was like, no.
She's like, I didn't knock on your fucking door.
And I was like, well, where's Fen? And
I'm busy.
Yeah. And she's like, Fen's in the shower.
So you had the knock happen.
The knock happened.
And that was weird. And then we did the seance.
Right.
Well, we were just doing magic for magic's sake, which most of the time we can't because we're always doing magic for video.
Yeah.
And so we're just fucking around and you felt like really weird and did not want to participate.
No, I didn't. Energetically, yesterday, I was just depleted. There's been a lot of emotional stuff going on, a lot of emotional turmoil going on in my little heart. So I didn't want to open myself up when I don't feel strong energetically.
Fair and smart.
Yeah.
Something that someone who's not just a baby witch would choose.
Right.
Because you're an elder.
I'm ancient.
You're an ancient witch.
You're ancient.
Okay.
My
Anyway.
knees are ancient.
Who's ancient?
My knees.
Your knees?
They hurt.
My lower back. That happened. And then we went to bed.
Yeah.
After that.
Yeah.
Me and Amelia went to bed.
Yeah. And I was in my bedroom
farting around. Oh,
editing videos. My whole life is editing videos, but I love it.
And farting. No, that's my life.
That's your life.
Ah, yes, I forgot.
Yeah, I had to go to the bathroom, so I go into the bathroom. And honestly, this happened the second I sat down on the toilet, okay? Nothing weird was happening when this happened.
She was not pooping yet. That's what that means. Translation.
I literally just sat down. My butt cheeks literally just touched the cold porcelain of the toilet, okay?
They ever so slightly graze the surface.
Yes.
Okay.
I was just grazing the bowl.
Okay.
And I coughed. This is so crazy. It sounds so crazy. And this like white orb like smoke like thing came out of my mouth to the point where I was like, what the like it almost looked like I like smoked and like blew out a perfect circle-y smoky thing, except I didn't smoke. And I got this insane weird taste in my mouth and it disappeared really quickly.
Was it like an orb or was it like...
It was like orb-like, but it also kind of was like smoky in a way. Like,
and it was white.
Misty, smoky. Yeah, white.
And what was the taste like? What did it taste like?
Really strong, bitter, not good.
Like,
I don't know.
Something similar, like pennies? Was it like irony or like pungent? Really?
Yeah, kind of irony.
That's interesting. I don't know why I asked
It's really
that.
strong.
Well, so she sends us a voice memo at what was like 2 a.m.
2 in the morning. Yeah.
And we're fast asleep when we get it this morning and we listen and she's like, you know, whatever. The first thing Emilio and I say is ectoplasm. Doesn't it sound like ectoplasm? Like,
It's so random though.
It sounds like ectoplasm, but then we talked to two of our like amazing crew witchy folks on our team, and they both had really interesting things to say. What did Tigris say?
Tigris was like, maybe a spirit passed through you. But what was really interesting is Tigris, after having a shower last night, was putting like frankincense on their skin and stuff. And some kind of wispy white stuff came off of their skin in the same way that I had that come out of my mouth. That's a really weird coincidence.
That's super weird. Also, I feel like this is what happens with this group of people. We have synchronicities like this. And then, you know, we'll tell the people in our crew and they'll be like, oh my God, I experienced something really similar to that.
Yeah.
But then Abri, our other amazing, very, very like seasoned practitioner.
Yes, very
magical
seasoned
practitioner.
Yes.
Was saying like, oh, well, it could be ectoplasm, but ectoplasm is what happens when you're channeling. And Abri was like, unless you were channeling while you were pooping, which that's like a whole other
can of worms. That's weird.
But
not something I do.
Well, that we know of.
I promise.
But guys, okay, so you're pooping. No, you're not pooping yet. You're just grazing ever so lightly. I can't get past the pooping.
I'm just grazing the toilet bowl.
I'm just grazing. So, okay. So so that comes out. And Abri said, well, if it is an ectoplasm, that it would be potentially blocked energy in your body, like needing to be released.
Right.
Basically. Which could be the case because you have been going through a lot emotionally. But I don't know. I really like ectoplasm.
But also, regardless of ectoplasm or blocked energy, the fact that Tigris had a similar scenario last night, I don't know.
That is weird. That's weird.
That's weird.
Also, I want Follow the Woo, brought to you by ChatGPT, the paid version. I do want to just look up what ChatGPT says about, I call ChatGPT Chad. So what Chad has to say about ectoplasm, because some of y'all might not know what the fuck we're talking about. And before we lie,
I don't know what we're talking about.
So,
tell me more about ectoplasm.
Okay, so ectoplasm is traditionally described as a supernatural substance or spiritual energy exteriorized by physical mediums during a seance or spiritualist session. So this is really big in the spiritualist movement, like in the mid to late 1800s. And this is when they would do like that time period, they were obsessed with seances. And what happened though is that there were a ton of fake ones though.
Right.
So they figured out a way to like somehow fake, like, I don't know, back then it was probably easy to fake.
I've seen some pictures of ectoplasm from back in the day. There was a Dr. Hamilton. He was really famous in Winnipeg for his seances and ectoplasm. Yeah. From Winnipeg.
Yes. And let's also put a picture of that up.
Yeah. The ectoplasm in question looks sus.
Yes.
I'm not looking at that and being like, oh my goodness, look at this proof. I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, this looks like you took like a napkin and like a picture of someone who passed away and did some shit with it.
Yeah, you it's like a balled up like wrapper or something.
It's not it.
It's not it.
It's not real.
No, but it's true. Like every single fucking picture I've seen of ectoplasm also looks fake. But I actually am really curious because like I think it's real. I think it could happen. I believe you because you're my bestie and I know you're not gonna lie.
Yeah. And also I was like in my voice recording, I was like, you guys, this sounds crazy. Like,
Yeah.
this just happened. And I was scared.
Yeah, you were
So I have to sleep by myself.
You were audibly scared. Yeah, you were like, I'm actually really freaked out right now.
Like that really creeped me out.
Yeah, it's true. And I know you're not going to lie about that. So behavior, witnesses of ectoplasmic phenomena. I want a shirt that says ectoplasmic phenomena.
That's cool.
That's amazing. Often report that it can move, change shape, and even form human-like features or complete figures.
Oh gosh, if I had seen a complete figure last night, good thing I was sitting on the
I was going to
toilet.
say you were in the right place.
I was in the right place.
You just dropped a deuce right
Because
there.
that would be so scary. No, thank you.
Oh my God. Okay, interesting. It is said to be sensitive to light and often retracts or disappears if exposed to bright illumination.
Well, I was in a very well lit eau de toilette.
Oh, toilet.
That's perfume. I was in a very well lit
Perfume bottle.
washroom.
Fucking turlet. Have you all been to the turlet? Okay, some mediums and witnesses describe ectoplasm as having a cool, damp, and clammy texture. You didn't have any like physical sensations.
I was coughing. I was like, and then I was like, and there was a gross taste in my mouth. And I was like, excuse me, ma'am.
Okay, so we're going to say to Chad, hey, Chad, which now he knows I call him Chad because he's damn near sentient, which is terrifying. I also always say please and thank you when I talk to Chad because they're going to ruin us.
What if you said, hey, you sexy motherfucker?
No, I'm not going to do that. This is my mom's account.
Okay.
Is there ever an associated taste with ectoplasm? Says olfactory descriptions, which is your nostrils. Some accounts mention a distinctive smell associated with it, but you didn't have that, yeah?
No.
Okay, often described as earthy, musty, or organic. Umami.
Nope.
Taste descriptions. There is very limited information regarding the taste of ectoplasm, given that ectoplasm is often depicted as emanating from the medium's mouth, nose, or other orifices. One might speculate that the medium or participants in the seance could have encountered some taste. However, detailed descriptions or first-hand accounts of the taste are exceedingly rare or non-existent.
Which is also sus.
That is sus.
Like, if you are a medium and you are fucking with ectoplasm and you have that, you channel and you have ectoplasm, you're telling me you don't know what it tastes like? I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, that's true. And it says
Liars.
here, fucking liars,
Just
liars
go
and
hardcore.
cheaters, motherfuckers. This is what Chad says about reasons for lack of taste descriptions. Chad, let's hear it. Number 1, focus on other senses. The dramatic visual and tactile aspects of ectoplasm likely overshadowed the taste experience. Okay.
Bull schnitzel.
I'm sorry. If something unusual comes out of your mouth like a pile of poof that is white,
You're gonna know what that tastes
you're
like.
gonna also experience the taste of that. Yeah, like that's dumb.
Okay, well, this came out of my mouth and I was not planning it. I wasn't channeling anything.
It came out of my mouth.
It came out of my mouth.
It freaked me out.
It did freak me out.
I mean, that's terrifying. You're just sitting
I was
there
like-
and you're like,
Yeah, but like, okay, honestly, what was going through my mind? Do you want to know?
yes,
I was like, did a part of my soul just come out of my body?
shit.
That's what I was thinking.
Was there a Death Eater in the bathroom with you? Not a Death Eater, a Dementor.
I don't know, but I was like, is that what just happened? Like, am I like, did a part of my soul just like be like, you know what, peace?
Your soul was like, this is too much.
I don't want to think about that too much because I get really freaked out.
Yeah, let's not marinate in that. I don't think that's what
I
happened.
don't know.
The one thing that I've noticed about ectoplasm is that I only have heard about it from the spiritualist movements of that time period. And I'm like, so all of a sudden ectoplasm stopped?
There's nothing modern.
There is no modern case. Maybe ectoplasm is bullshit.
I don't believe in it.
Really?
I don't think I believe in ectoplasm. No.
I don't know if I do. Here's my thing. Okay. I believe in everything.
You do.
I do think that it's possible. I think it's kind of like demonic possession. I do think that happens more frequently than ectoplasm. It seems, maybe not though, but I think it's similar in the way that like it doesn't happen as much as people think it does.
Yeah.
Like it really just doesn't happen that often. And probably most likely the people who experience ectoplasm just kind of shove that under the rug and like don't talk
Maybe,
to anybody about it because it's a weird one.
Maybe.
It's not like, oh, I saw a ghost. It's like I coughed up a fucking spirit, you know, like what? That's odd. Like that's a weird thing to admit.
Yeah. I'm really glad that I'm admitting it to the masses right
To the
now.
world. So that's what happened with the ectoplasm. What do you think about ectoplasm people?
Yeah.
Like,
Tell us.
I want to know what you think.
And what do you think happened to me?
And what do you think? Yeah.
Like, someone help.
And has anybody else
Help me.
experienced this? And if you have, did you get photographic evidence? Probably not. And did you taste anything that tasted like ass?
Yeah, because there's no way I could have gotten photographic evidence of that. I would literally sat down, went and had a orb come out of my mouth that tasted like shit.
Yes. And also, for the record, for those of you who are going to be like, oh, well, maybe you smoke or you vape and like you didn't exhale or something, you don't smoke or vape.
No,
So no,
I didn't.
it wasn't that. It wasn't
wasn't.
smoke. It was her soul.
It freaked me out. It freaked me out. It's freaking me out now talking about it. Sorry, I didn't even tell you this.
What?
I slept with the light on last night from this situation.
Oh, shit.
Like, that's how freaked out I was. Like, normally, because I'm afraid of the dark, so I sleep with like a little like light on every night. I didn't just have my little light on. I had like the big lamp on.
Jesus.
I couldn't fall asleep without it.
Because you were like, I just coughed up a ghost.
I was like, my soul left.
My soul.
I'm an
left
empty
me.
shell.
Well, I'm an empty shell and I didn't cough anything up. So let's
Pivot.
pivot.
Let's pivot.
Let's pivot.
Longlegs.
Our review.
We saw Longlegs in theaters.
We sure did.
Okay.
Spoiler fucking alert.
Yeah. If you haven't seen Longlegs or you don't want to know what happens in Longlegs,
Fast forward through this part.
yeah,
So, spoiler alert. Let's just start from the top.
make it drop.
Make it drop. We went into this thinking what everybody fucking thought and told us to think, I guess.
Yeah.
Which was that this is the scariest movie of the year.
Yeah.
And let me preface this by saying I don't really watch a lot of scary things. As a paranormal investigator, that's fucking weird, I know. But I don't, because I had a really bad experience with The Exorcist when I was like really young, and it fucked me up.
Yeah.
Like real bad.
Yeah.
And so I was always like, no, I don't know. I don't want to watch the like really, really scary stuff. But then this summer, I like can't get away from it. My bestie loves horrors and my fucking partner loves horror. And I think I just like, so this is my horror girl summer. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm trying, and I'm finding that like, I'm surprised, but I want you to say what we thought before we got in there. And
Yeah.
like, how we were feeling. Like, what-
Right. Yeah. Like, I love horror movies. I love being scared. I love the adrenaline. And I was so excited for this movie. I was telling everybody in our group chat, we're going to be traumatized from this. I couldn't wait to be traumatized.
Yeah, we were like, traumatize us.
Yeah. I was excited. I was like, I literally won't be able to sleep probably for a week after seeing this movie, which is what I love.
Sleeping with the light on.
Sleeping with the light on. I prefer it from horror movies and not from real life experiences, but whatever. I guess ask and you shall receive. Yeah. So I was really, and we were fucking disappointed in that movie.
We get out of there and the disappointment.
It's palpable.
Palpable. That movie was dumb.
Let's talk about what we liked about it, because that's going to be a way shorter list.
Okay, yeah, I will.
Let's start with that.
Okay.
What did you like about it?
I liked it was visually very compelling. The color grading was beautiful.
Yeah.
It was the way that you mentioned, like they did that like back in the day versus present day.
Right.
And changing the scope of the frame was really fucking cool.
Yeah.
Love
was
that.
Really cool.
I think that you kept saying that main actress's face.
Oh yeah, like she did a great job. She's a really great actress. Her poor face must have been so sore because she had to basically clench her jaw the whole movie, like to look uncomfortable. And
RBF.
she did a great job.
RBF, the whole movie. And she did a good job. I mean, I haven't seen her in anything else though, so maybe
I feel like I have, but I can't remember what.
you have? Okay, because I was like, well, maybe that's just her face, but
No. I read about her face.
you read about her face?
And it's like her natural demeanor is very like happy-go-lucky, charming.
Oh, wow.
Not like that at all.
Okay. So that was incredible.
Yeah, she did great.
Great. I think the first, and this is what Amelia said too, is that like Amelia's on our team as well. Our aesthetic alchemist.
Love her.
We're going to have her on sometime.
Yeah.
Much to her like chagrin, dismay, discomfort. Amelia said, and I agree with this, I think we all did, that the first half of the movie was so much better
than part one, because they had parts.
Yes, part one. Part one was like, wow.
Were there 3 parts?
Oh, maybe there were.
But part one, regardless, part one was good. It's set up.
It sucks you in.
Yeah.
It's very compelling.
Yeah.
There's like I'm a film nerd, so there's like an inciting incident like right away. You get to see that this, again, spoilers, but this girl is like super fucking psychic. I'm like, oh, a psychic FBI agent? Like, fuck yeah. And that one scene where like it's in the old timey frame, like Super 8 almost, and you can just see Longlegs' face, like
The bottom of his face.
Or his mouth.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is gonna be fucking gnarly.
Yeah.
And then it like jumps the shark halfway through, and I thought he was funny. I didn't think he was scary at all.
I didn't think he was scary. I think the idea of him being scary is betting on people just feeling uncomfortable with him.
Yeah, which definitely you do feel uncomfortable with them. And this is another thing that we said, and many people we've spoken to said, which is that like we saw him too many times to be afraid.
Yeah.
Like if you let us see him fewer times, he wouldn't be so fucking funny and just like absolutely ridiculous. My film brain was just like, that prosthetic is hilarious.
Yeah, it wasn't it for her. Also, and I've seen people talking about this, but also this is something I was thinking, and I was immediately really upset about this. I talk about folklore creatures, cryptids, monsters all the time, and I always say there's nothing creepier than disproportionate limbs. Like when something is like a creepy creature and it has like super long arms that like reach the floor or something, or really long fingers or something weird like that, it is terrifying. They fucking called this movie Longlegs.
Who has long legs in it?
There's no long legs. They could have made him really creepily tall with long, weird little limbs of legs, and they didn't do that.
Yeah, because in the beginning, before we watched it, I was like, oh, I feel like because it's about a serial killer, his type is like brunette girls with long legs.
Oh. Apparently, they called it the serial killer Longlegs because they were like, it's just vintage, it's pinup. It's like, I don't know, they just liked the way it sounded. There was no actual reason for it. So way to overpromise and underdeliver.
Okay, well, yeah, seriously.
And disappoint me.
Well, that's the whole campaign. The marketing campaign was brilliant.
So good. What I want from a horror, personally, I need a good storyline. I need something I can sink my teeth into. But secondly, I need to look at the person that's sitting next to me in the theater multiple times throughout the entire movie and be like, oh my gosh, I'm so scared right now. Like, that's what I want when I see a horror movie.
Yeah. And I mean, I imagine that's what people want. And you and I actually looked at each other and laughed multiple times. And I will say this, like, we laughed when Nicolas Cage was doing like his shenanigans. I will say that Nicolas Cage's performance was stellar. He did a great job.
He did. He always does. Yeah.
He's a good actor. He really committed.
Yeah.
And I mean, some of y'all might be like, fuck off. This is the best horror movie I've seen.
Tell us why.
Tell us why.
The storyline was lacking.
Yeah. And, you know, I'm a huge Mike Flanagan fan. You are too. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's actually what got me into horror.
He's the king of horror.
I mean, I love he has a way of taking really, really complex like plot points and narratives and just like fucking making them scary. And so then you're not only getting these like insane performances and really long scenes, like way too long as far as like what they teach you in film school, like really long scenes where like everybody is just like talking forever,
long monologues.
And like I'm never bored. I'm always like, what kind of fucking twist is this? So now I'm like spoiled, you know, I'm Mike Flanagan spoiled. We should talk about Mike Flanagan sometime.
We will.
But
many.
If you were to compare this to Mike Flanagan, I will take Mike Flanagan all day long. Like I'll take any of it.
It was just there is no comparison.
Midnight Mass. Stop right now. Like,
ooh, Midnight Mass.
Speaking of, we're gonna come back to that.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about.
But no, like take Midnight Mass compared to Longlegs, and I think it's far and away a better story.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, some would say, oh, well, yeah, it's like a 2-hour versus like he gets to tell the story and however many fucking episodes there were, but still. And to just sort of like have it be the devil at the end was kind of like...
Get more creative at this point.
Why is it the devil? Like, come on, man. Like, really, at the end, it was just the devil, and the devil made Nicolas Cage get like too much filler.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know.
It
It's
just was lacking. I don't know.
like I want a like a deep motivation for you to like make fucking dolls with human hair and like murder families.
Where was Longlegs' backstory?
Yes. But we did talk about Mike Flanagan and Midnight Mass, which leads us to
Vampires.
vampires. Where shall we start? Vampires are hot right now.
They're popping off.
They are. They're on. Okay. People who I know who are not in the like paranormal woo space are getting a lot of vampiric content on their For You pages, which I think is really weird. Like like we have that shit on our pages because that's what we're doing all the time. That's interesting. Also, New Blood universe comes from the show New Blood, which is about my journey meeting vampires, coming out soon. Not sure when.
Yeah.
We'll let you know.
Yeah.
But that TV show / insane experience taught me so much about real life vampires. And that's what's going up like on For You pages right now.
Yeah.
Is like,
It's
my
right now.
my real life vampire experience. And a lot of people are like, what the fuck? Vampires don't exist. But like, honey, I'm here to tell you they do.
But a lot of people also are like, yeah, they exist. We know. And I mean, you know how I feel
know.
about Vanderpump Rules.
Oh God.
And Katie and Dana from Vanderpump Rules on their podcast, disrespectfully, they're talking about vampires. Like, this is reaching all kinds of folk.
Yeah, it's a good time to come out with a vampiric docuseries.
Really good timing. We are talking about modern day vampires.
Correct. Okay, here's what I think. You ready? Spit it out, Pickles.
I'm ready.
So I think that in the same way that witches were like documented and treated, I think vampires have gotten a similar kind of treatment. Yeah, because I think like vampires go way back, all the way back to the Book of Enoch, which we're going to get into later, which if you've seen Midnight Mass, Mike Flanagan's, oh man,
masterpiece.
He definitely read the Book of Enoch. I think the sucking of the blood, I don't know.
Well, there are modern day vampires that do drink blood.
100%. But I don't know any of them who literally put their like canines into someone's neck and do that. Like, that's not a thing. Okay, so there's a bunch of these documentaries from like, I don't know, the 90s or the early, I want to say the 90s that are like not good about modern day vampires. But
I haven't seen any of them.
One of the interesting things that they discover is that there are like in labs and shit, there are people who they took a person who identified as a vampire and said, I need vital energy and I get it from drinking blood. They let them drink the blood, whatever, donated blood from a donor, and then fucking did a bunch of tests on them before and after drinking the blood. And those tests did show in these few participants that their levels changed.
Right.
Which is interesting.
Yeah. There's also a disease that starts with a P that has to do with people who need blood. Oh, that's it. The first one.
Porphyria?
Porphyria. I don't know.
Refers to a group of rare inherited or acquired disorders caused by the buildup of natural chemicals that produce porphyrin in your body. But do they drink it? It says blood transfusions.
Some people would drink blood and think that they were a vampire, but then later discovered they had this disease.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. I mean, I know for sure I've met sanguine. That's what they're called. Sanguinarians or sanguines, the modern day vampires that do actually drink blood and feel and believe that they need it for vital energy. Some of them don't. Some of them are just lifestylers and they like the way that like it seems like it's kind of like a BDSM thing and they like that whole, but it's not, they don't need it for vital energy.
Right.
But there are these fucking vampires who do say they need it for that. And who am I to say that they don't,
Yeah. There was a researcher. His name was John Browning. He went to Louisiana State University.
Interesting.
He studied among real vampires for a long time, like 5 years maybe. And they were sanguines. And he said, like, he believed a lot of them. Like, they required blood. There were certain people that wound up in the hospital if they didn't have it, it was crazy.
I believe it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've hung out with vampires for the better part of, 3 years now, working on this docuseries, and modern day vampires exist, period.
Yeah.
Period. You can't prove to me otherwise. And until you've been fed on by a vampire, you don't get to say, okay? because I have been fed on by a vampire and it is a wild experience. Now, I didn't have my blood drunken,
No,
not
not that kind of feed.
but there is a different kind of feed, and that is like a whole other section of vampires, and that's psychic vampires or energy vampires.
Yeah.
And I would say that probably makes up the majority of vampires that exist today.
Right. Yeah.
Real vampires. Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, according to what I know, I think that's true. Let's ask Chad about vampires real quick, because I want to know what Chad is going to pull from. First one, Oxford English Dictionary. A vampire is a preternatural being of a malignant nature. Interesting.
Mhm.
So right off the bat, bad. Popularly believed to be a reanimated corpse which sucks the blood of sleeping persons. I think that was the old way of explaining what a vampire was.
Mhm.
And then over time, this is what it is now.
Yeah.
And maybe it was never really like something reanimated from the dead who like sucked your blood when you slept, you know?
Yeah.
Like, maybe it
maybe not.
wasn't. Maybe it was just like a person who needed blood.
Yeah.
But then there's the Book of Enoch. And the Book of Enoch is really, really fascinating if you haven't read it. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, the Book of Enoch is divided into several sections. It is a Jewish religious book text attributed to Enoch, who is the great-grandfather of Noah. So it is biblical, and there's angels in here, which is really interesting. It brings me to Mike Flanagan, which if you haven't seen Midnight Mass, there are going to be spoilers for that. And it's like a big spoiler if you haven't seen Midnight Mass, because like you don't even really know that it's about spoiler vampires.
Yeah.
Until like halfway through or something,
Right.
which is remarkably done.
Yeah.
Oh, can't stand it.
So good.
It is not considered like one of the main texts. Like obviously it's not in the Torah or the Old Testament. It was I think it's considered one of the books that was removed.
Right.
Which there were many. And the books that were removed are so fascinating because those books talk about giants. They talk about fallen angels. They talk about dragons. They talk about like all kinds of fucked up creatures, and they just like so conveniently removed them. This is what's fascinating about it, because this is going to get really hairy. Okay, so chapter 7, basically like verses 1 through 6, talk about the Nephilim. And so the Nephilim are offspring of fallen angels. You know this, but I don't know if y'all know
I
this.
didn't.
Did it? I
No.
thought you did. Okay, so the Nephilim are offspring of fallen angels. So basically, there were some angels called the Watchers, and the Watchers were in charge of watching humanity.
Okay.
And they just got out of control and decided they wanted to do their own dang thing. And so they became fallen angels. And they had some sexy time with some women, human women. And that created the Nephilim. Many believe, based on the book, this ancient fucking text, that the Nephilim are vampires.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And it says here in chapter 7, verse 5, and they began to sin against birds and beasts and reptiles and fish, and to devour one another's flesh and drink the blood.
Ooh.
Yeah, so basically what happened was these Nephilim were giants at the time, so giant vampires.
Sweet.
And they were, or I'm sorry, wait, hold on.
The fallen angels were giants?
Yeah. No. The fallen angels were angels, regular, whatever, creepy looking angels, because they're
terrifying.
fucking creepy looking. Actually, we should
They did the nasty with humans.
Correct. They have the Nephilim, and they start teaching humans and the Nephilim like some shitty stuff. Like basically how to kill, how like all the sins. Like they taught them how to like wear makeup and be like vain, like that kind of
news
shit.
bears.
Yeah, I know. Full beat. So anyway, one of the main things that they did was devour and drink the blood. Then in chapter 9, the archangels plead to God regarding the mess made by the fallen angels and their offspring, which is the Nephilim.
Right.
Which is really fascinating. Like, this is a whole story about fallen angels who essentially, like, seemingly purposefully, like, created hybrid humans called the Nephilim.
Right.
And made them, like,
vampires.
Bad boys. Yeah. Like, they were just, like, killing and pillaging and drinking blood.
Wow.
Really interesting. Yeah.
That is really interesting.
I know. I'm obsessed. This book is old as fuck, too, because... Let's see. Chad says the Book of Enoch is believed to have been written between the 3rd century BCE and the 1st century CE. And the Book of the Watchers specifically is dated to around 300 to 200 BCE, which is old as fuck.
Yeah.
So that whole section about the fallen angels and the Nephilim, and essentially like one of the older texts on that references some being that drinks blood, right?
Right.
That's old as fuck.
Yeah.
But the other thing is that vampires show up like everywhere, all over the world. And this is why I'm so inclined to believe in vampires, like, and that they've been here from the gate.
Right.
Like, maybe not the first gate, but like the second gate, depending on how you look at it. The Epic of Gilgamesh, which is one of the oldest known works of literature. It's a Sumerian epic that includes references to creatures called Ikimu. I might be messing that up, which are spirits of the dead who are not buried properly and come back to haunt the living, feeding on their life force, which is like an energy vampire. So they have those attributes. That's really fucking old. The Rig Veda, which is an ancient Indian text, there's a mythological creature called the Lamia, a female
Lamia, yeah.
Lamia, you know that one? A female demon who is said to feed on children's blood.
Yeah.
And Empusa, a shape-shifting demon who seduced men and drank their blood.
I mean, I can attest to having done so many different videos on different creatures from folklore that feed on life force and blood. It's across every culture.
Vampires. They've been here forever. Vampires.
Yeah.
We love them. Ancient Egyptian mythology, the goddess Sekhmet, which was really interesting because Sekhmet came through our seance last night.
Yeah, that was really
That was weird. Associated with bloodlust and destruction, and was also said to drink the blood of the enemies of Ra. So that's really interesting. Also, the Old Testament references Lilith, a female demon who is sometimes depicted as a night creature who preys on infants and pregnant women drinking their blood. I love that there's so many female vampires too. I'm into that. And then in medieval European texts, such as De Nugi Curricula Leum by Walter Mapp and Chronicon by William of Newburgh, contain accounts of revenants and blood-drinking creatures. So the point is, no matter where you go in the world, like you said.
Oh, literally, yeah. I mean, off the top of my head, like they're all across all cultures. I think it's Adzi, I think is how you pronounce it.
Adzi.
Yeah.
What's Adzi?
It's like this vampire that can turn into a firefly and come into your home through like a keyhole or under the door. Like it's across all cultures.
Which is fascinating because like Twilight vampires, you know, like that whole like we sparkle in the sun. And don't get me wrong, when I'm sick, I love watching Twilight. It's so bad it's good.
The lion fell in love with the lamb. Barf.
Say it. Say it. You're impossibly fast.
Right.
I think we've learned by hanging out with vampires, and me especially, that like they're not like the Twilight vampires. They're not like the True Blood vampires. You don't have to be like asked in. They don't sleep in coffins, although some lifestylers do sleep in coffins for fun.
They eat garlic.
They do be eating garlic. Yeah, there's a lot of like myths that can be busted.
They don't start burning if you hold a cross near them.
Correct.
They can go in the sunlight.
But
without sparkling or burning to a crisp.
Or yes, either, right. Both very different ends of the spectrum. Jesus Christ. But let's talk about like a couple of our experiences of vampires to give people like a little taste. A little tasty poo.
Well, I'm going to kind of talk about how I got into. Let's talk about it. This also is how we met.
Shit, we met because of vampires.
Yeah, because what happened is I did a video about 1.5 years ago on my TikTok, The Queer Crypt, about real vampires. It went viral. And that's how I met Jack and Shane Townsend.
If you don't know him, go look him up.
Yeah.
Jack the Vampire Townsend.
Big on TikTok.
Big vampire.
Yeah. They saw my video. So I wind up talking to Jack and Shane. I also wind up watching a bunch of their videos. And I originally when I did my research on real vampires, I had read that article about John Browning who did his research. And I was like, it seems like there's something to this, but I don't know. But what really convinced me was watching Shane's video, specifically one where she talked about Jack feeding on her when she was like a little bit under the weather. She was a little bit under the weather. She was sick. He fed on her and she wound up passing out from being fed on.
That's wild.
Yeah. And, like Shane is just one of those people that
You
tells
trust
the
her.
story. You can tell she's not making it up. She's well-spoken, authentic. Like, I watched that video and I was like, I believe her.
Well, we also like got to know her as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But this was before I even knew you or anything.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I didn't know anyone. I just was watching her videos because her and Jack had been like, oh, like, we saw you made this video, whatever. That's how I got into this whole world of real vampires and got to know more than just Jack and Shane, wound up meeting you, and
then
wound up in New Orleans
with
real vampires.
real vampires. Well, and also because this is the first episode in the new format with our new host, I should also say that like the whole reason that we're here is because of the podcast. Like, I was out of work in LA working in film, but the film industry shut down during COVID for 2 years.
Right.
Nobody had jobs. They were all just getting unemployment. And so I had always wanted to start a podcast about spooky shit. And I started Follow the Woo. And that's how I met my first vampire. Actually, she reached out to me.
Yeah.
And that was Stephanie.
Right.
Who's one of the main vampire players in the docuseries. And then Stephanie introduced me to Michelle Belanger, who many people know on like loads of paranormal shows. If you watch paranormal TV, you know who that is.
Yeah.
And then like it just busted open all of these like weird opportunities and these amazing people. One of them being Abri, who's another.
One of them being me.
One of them being you. But you're not a vampire, are you?
No.
She's not a vampire.
I'm not.
But Abri's a vampire, and Abri lives in New Orleans, NOLA. And we went to go and visit them and got to meet
An elder vampire.
an elder vampire.
And
speak.
it was interesting. Let's talk about how we wound up meeting the elder vampire, because we didn't just, hang out at a coffee shop. We didn't just meet at a Starbucks, okay?
You can't do that.
We had to meet him at a specific location. We had to go to this vampire bar, and you might have seen it because it's been viral on TikTok a few times. But it's not easy to get to. You did all the work to get us there. This was all you.
So go to a store and it has like a vampire card on it. And I'm like, hey, what is this? And I'm trying to chat up as many people as I can because I want to figure out how to get where I want to go.
Yeah.
And this person is very hesitant to tell me anything, but like kind of is like, oh, we're interested. And I am like, well, I'm making a documentary about vampires. Like, it's not a negative documentary. I'm trying my hardest to like, come on, help me out here.
Yeah.
So he sends me to this other place. So I go to that shop and
That was a cool shop though.
That was a cool shop.
Yeah.
Truly. And so I waited to like chat up because that's what I do be doing. Chatty. We're chatty motherfuckers. Charming, chatty. Charming and chatty.
Chatty, charming.
So, Charmin?
Charmin.
So anyway, I go up to the person there, also hesitant to tell me, and gives me a tiny piece of paper that has a password on it, tells me what to do. So we go home.
Get ready, get super cute, get super hot.
Put our fangs in.
We look like cute little vamps. I mean, I probably didn't look like a vamp, but I looked like a little goth girl. Okay?
Yeah.
It was great.
You look like a hot goth girl.
Hot goth girl.
Hot goth girls.
Mm-hmm.
Don't knock them till you try them. We go, we look cute. We go and it just has an address. So we go to the address and it's so bizarre because it's not spooky at all. It's just a regular jazz club and it's packed. And we're like, what the fuck? This is not it. But it says find the vampire. Lo and behold, there is like in this dark corner with a candelabra, there is this little
vampire.
But he wasn't little, but there was like a little desk he was sitting at or something. And he was spooky looking.
Yeah, he was really spooky. He had the contacts in, the fangs. He looked like he could fuck you up.
Or if you're straight, which we're not, like he could fuck you.
Yeah.
Like I feel like if I were straight, I'd be like, delicious.
Yeah.
But I'm not. So I was like, scary.
Yeah.
So, but he was everything you wanted him to be.
Yeah.
He was like.
He delivered.
He did. He delivered.
Yeah.
He played the part so well.
Yeah.
He committed fully.
He understood the assignment.
He sure did. He was, I like, pulled out my little piece of paper and I said what the password was. And he was like, well, why do you want to go there?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, because I want to hang out with some vampires. Like, and, I think we're all like trying to show our teeth. Like, we're like, come on, let us in. He did ask a lot of questions. Like, he was not just going to let us in there.
Yeah.
And then finally, even with the password, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people maybe get in the password that like they don't want up there.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So we proved ourselves once again.
Yeah.
And the third time now, Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, okay, stamps our hands. We pay the fucking whatever.
Yeah.
And he opens this door that looks like it literally goes to the outside.
Yeah.
Like it's the trash where you take out the trash. But instead, it is this dark staircase that goes up. It smells like cat piss.
And there's a cat in there roaming around.
And I'm like, what are we getting ourselves into?
What is this?
Like, this doesn't seem safe. But
let's go.
Let's go. Come on, guys.
Sign me up.
Don't tease me with a good time.
Yeah, literally.
We get through the cat piss. and then what?
And we get in there. And it's, you know what? It's smaller than we probably thought. But it started out, there wasn't a lot of people there. It definitely had a feel. Aesthetically, it looked really cool. It was a really cool little bar. But it felt energetically dead in there.
Yeah.
There was a lack of energy.
Absolutely. Yeah, we walked in there. It was really dark.
It was dry.
It was like, yes, there was no moisture. Like not that it was like dry, like not humid, but it was like no life force.
Yes. This little bar also had a rooftop type balcony, as they do in the French Quarter. So this is where we met the elder vampire.
Name will not be mentioned.
I didn't have much of a reaction. I didn't have much of a feeling about him to start. I was just like, whatever. I was more concerned with getting drinks from those cool little bottles that they give you.
Those drinks sucked, but they're very aesthetically pleasing. I know we have very different ideas of what a good drink is. She loves a really sweet drink, and I'm a dry bitch.
And this is delicious.
Sweet drink at a dry bar. So it was great. Anyway, so they aesthetically pleasing drinks. Yes. And you were on your broom. You were like, I'm out of here. Like, I'm getting drunk.
Yeah.
What? Fine. Let's get drunk with the vampires, right? That's what we wanted. That's what we were there for.
And maybe right off the bat, I got a little bit of a vibe like this is going to be a boring convo. I'm going to let Fen and Elder Vampire take it away. Danelle and I are going to go inside where the vibes are aesthetically pleasing.
It's cute in there.
I'm going to order more drinky booze.
Yes, as one does. And I got sucked into Elder Vampire because one thing that you'll learn about vampires, y'all, is that past lives is really, really big with them. It's a huge part of their lore. It's a huge part of like, because if the idea of the Nephilim, whatever, we don't want to go into all of that. But like, if some of those ancient ideas are correct, then like lineage is really important, and like who you reincarnate as is really important, and then you might have like work to do with your fellow vampires. I will say that when I met this elder vampire, and I do believe in reincarnation, I did feel that he was familiar. I really did.
And what was also interesting too, though, was as soon as I met him, I said, "Oh, you look so familiar. Like, have we met before?" Our other friend was like, well, he's from Canada and you're from Canada. I'm like, okay, well, I'm from Manitoba. Like, where are you from? He was from a completely different area, different province. So I'm like, well, I guess I don't know you from Canada. But right away, I was like, weird, you look familiar. And he was like, I wonder why. Later, he told me why he thinks that he looked familiar to me. But
do you want to say that or no?
Sure. He said that he thought I was his daughter at some point back in time, but he made it weird. Should I say how that got weird?
Yes.
Okay, well, because also later he said that he wished he could kiss me, but I was in a relationship. And I was like, I don't wish I could kiss you.
You want to kiss your daddy? Hey.
Yeah, like, excuse me?
You want to kiss your daddy?
I'm sorry. What?
That gets weird. It gets really weird with the vampire reincarnation.
It was really weird.
Past lives with vampires is fucking weird. I did feel like he was familiar too. We immediately hit it off and started talking, and he started to tell me like what he thought about like the origin of vampires, and not what he thought, but what was truth.
Fact.
Which I struggle with, you know, like truth is complex.
You've said this before. Any like good practitioner or searcher of the truth knows that you stay in the question. You don't always have all the answers. And to presume that you do is just
arrogant.
I don't believe you. If you're like, I know this for a fact, and this, I'm like, now I don't trust you.
100%. I think that that's what we're taught as witches. That's, you know, when I was in Hogwarts, witch school, we are all taught like, you don't know. You don't know.
There's so
many
things.
This is what we think. You choose. And then please, for the love of all that is holy, do not judge other people for what they choose. Like, just let it go. So anyway, he knew everything. And that always rubs me the wrong way. And I was just like arguing with him. And so that conversation like really escalated. And he started talking about consent. Actually, before we even got into the argument about like, how do you know this is true or whatever, he talked about how consent was so important for vampires. And I was like, great.
Yeah. Any real vampire that I have ever met has very, very seriously said that consent is the most important thing. That being said, words and actions are two different things.
100%. And we did find this out that night. So he says consent. I'm like, great. So at least, even if he does think he knows everything, like at least he's not going to feed on me. We get into the argument, blah, blah, blah. We're on the balcony. Obviously, when you look down from the balcony, there's all these people walking in NOLA as they do. And we're just like, fuck, look at all these people down there. And then I guess we had a few drinks after.
By this point.
Yes, we had been drinking. We had like an hour and a half conversation. Like it was in depth.
Yeah.
And I'm knocking drinks back. He is like, I can tell like, I'm not wasted at that point, but I'm definitely like loosey.
I brought you multiple tequila shots.
You were like trying to save me. Yes. And I was stubborn and like wanting to stay and like figure this guy out.
At least one of us tried to save the other.
I know. We'll get to that. So we're looking down after these drinks on the people walking down the street, and he has gotten a little bit more comfortable with me. And I asked him about feeding, and he starts right in front of me feeding on individual people down below.
Walking in the French Quarter.
Yeah, which is fucked because, first of all, he said he was about a consent. So, and consent is important. Enthusiastic consent is important for everything, like, especially when you're being fed on. But also, you can't just feed on people, like, willy-nilly.
No. And you said yesterday, like, you were talking about how their demeanor changed.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, that's right. So one thing that I've learned by hanging out with vampires is that there is a way to feed on groups of people without hurting them, and that's called ambient feeding. And basically how that works, whether it's it's just an energetic feeding, is that you take what's called, like, some people call it like the top off of
it's like leftovers.
Yeah, it's not what we want anyway, but when we're in big large numbers, like at concerts and things like that, big crowds, we have excess of it and there's enough to feed a vampire. And so ambient feeding is totally fine, and you do not need consent for that because it doesn't hurt anyone.
Right.
This is not what he was doing. He would literally look at me and then like point out a person.
Yeah.
And specifically start feeding on them in front of me. And I was like, wait, are you feeding on them right now? I thought you said like consent. And he kind of gave me this smirk like, well, yeah, I mean, but like they don't really know. And I look down at the people that he's chosen, and they like look. One of them looks like disoriented. The other one starts walking really slowly. There is a visible difference in like their gait, like how they're fucking doing what they were doing prior to getting fed on.
Yeah.
And I just was so frustrated with this guy because I was like, dang, man, like, what the fuck?
Right.
Like, you are not just ambiently feeding at that point. It's not the same as like being right up to them and touching them, but it's still singling them out.
Yeah.
Fuck me up.
So then he fed on you. Did he not?
Yes, he did. So then he feeds on me. And did he feed on me at the bar, or was it at the later bar? I can't remember.
No, I think it was on the balcony because, it was on the balcony. No, it was on the balcony.
Oh, because I was so depleted when I came back in.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't actually know that he was feeding on me until like shortly thereafter, but not immediately.
Yeah, not immediately.
Not immediately as it was happening. Like I walked away and I was like, oh, fuck.
And then because then you confronted him. You confronted him about it.
Did I?
Yeah, you were like, you were feeding on me, and he was like, sorry.
Oh, that's right. Yes, he did feed on me, and he said sorry. And I was actually in kind of a bad mood after that. Like I got into a pretty bad mood, and tell them what I did. Just gonna throw me under the bus.
Yeah, I will.
Well, talk about your fucking vampire experience while this is happening.
So while Fen is out there arguing and watching this elder vampire feed on others,
meanwhile, ...
Danelle and I are inside. We meet this really cool girl. So she introduces us to this girl who looks super cool. Little did we know we were being introduced to the real life Colin Robinson. If you've seen What We Do in the Shadows.
If you haven't seen What We Do in the Shadows, what are you doing?
Get your life together.
But also, if you haven't, Colin Robinson is what?
An energy vampire that literally takes your energy from boring you
to death.
You don't die, but you You
Feel like you
fall
could.
asleep, your drink, all that stuff. He talked to us for at least like 10 to 15 minutes about the public policy of her LARPing group. And this is not hating on LARPing groups. I wanted to talk about the LARPing. I was like, that sounds fun. I want to have a sword. This is nerdy shit that I like.
Yeah, get a sword.
Give me a sword. No. No. Public policy. So while Danelle is politely engaging
Canadians.
with Colin Robinson,
They're both Canadians. So polite.
I take out my phone. I text Fen. I text Abri, who we're also there with. I'm like, guys, like, someone fucking save us. Neither of them read it. But Fen happens to come in after being fed on and watching Elder Vampire feed on others. And sits down with Danelle and I and this ma'am. Sits there for 10, 15 seconds and says, well, I just got fed on by another vampire. I'm not about to get fed on by this one, out loud. And then just gets up, walks away. Danelle and I are like, and I'm like, well, where are you going? And Fen's like, I'm going to a different bar. I'm like, well, we're coming with you.
That was my tactic. I was like, you guys, that was your cue to be like, oh yeah, that's my friend going to another bar. We got to go.
That is what we did. That was not your tactic.
That was my
That is
tactic.
full of
Okay.
schnitzel.
I am a schnitzel. Listen, when you were fed on by a vampire, it sucks the life force out of you.
Ben was not helping no one. Okay. Ben was done.
I think
Ben was like, fend for yourselves.
fend for yourself. Yeah, no, I can't remember, but I want to believe I was better than that, but I don't think I was.
No. So
So
Danelle and I were like, well, we have to go with our friend. Colin Robinson says, I guess I just won't finish my story then. Okay. And we're like, sorry. We're Canadian, sorry.
sorry.
But like, okay, you were telling us the public policy of your LARPing group, dude. We don't want the rest of your story. I wanted your story to stop 10 minutes ago.
She was. I will say, I do remember walking in. I felt remarkably different when I walked in than I did when I went out to the balcony, because I was fed on, but also like, you know, the energy in the space had changed. There were a lot more vampires in there. It was crowded in there.
Mm-hmm.
And when I saw you and Danelle as an intuitive witchy poo, I knew they were feeding on you, or she was.
Mm-hmm.
I assumed that both, because there were two of them.
Yeah, the other
there.
one wasn't.
I assumed that they were both feeding on you, but I was like, you're absolutely being fed on. And I did say that to you. I did whisper it to like Danelle or you.
Oh yeah, you whispered it to me. You're like, you're being fed on. And I was like, yeah, I don't help.
help. And I was like, deuces.
Yeah, later. No, I don't know if the blue-haired girl's friend knows that she's friends with a vampire who's feeding on everybody. I don't know if the blue-haired girl knows that she's a vampire that's feeding on everybody and draining the life out of them and removed years from my life with that 10-minute conversation.
Yeah, you got gray hairs from that conversation.
I like at least one extra wrinkle appeared on my forehead from the conversation.
We went in looking like bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and came out like with canes and like like in dire need of Botox.
I was wearing a diaper when I left. Just kidding.
Yeah, I had a walker. Yeah, it was rough. I mean, that is the thing. Like, especially if you're dealing with vampires that are unawakened and they don't know that they're feeding, which it seems like blue-haired girl did not know, then they're gonna suck the living fucking life force out of you. Vampires who are awakened, who are consensual, and who are like responsible for their gifts are never going to suck you dry. Like, they're just not going to. But in both our cases, we really did get like we got fucked.
In a good way. We're like, okay, we're gonna leave the bar. And do you know what I'm realizing now? Because we've been talking and all this has been coming back up. I'm pretty sure, because I didn't know he was the one who fed on you outside.
Are you serious?
So I'm pretty sure I was the one. I actually think I'm the one who told him he could come with us.
You little schnitzel.
I know.
And he did hang around for like multiple bars. Like, we went to many bars.
He hung around the whole night, Fen.
Oh God, I tried to block it out.
And he hung out until we went home.
It did get a little weird and sexual too, because when he talked about my past lives, he was like very much like we were like I was his bitch almost.
Ooh.
There is this like, without getting too deep into it, there is this like lore about like the different categories of energy vampires and or all vampires really. And not all vampires subscribe to this, but it is pretty like substantial umbrella term, which is like there are priests, there are counselors, and there are warriors. And each one of them need different amounts of energy, and they participate in different ways or whatever. But in the way back in the ancient times,
some of them,
he's a priest, and the priests need the most energy, and the counselors were the ones who needed to be like
the sexual energy.
Yes, they needed to be like little bitches to
the priest.
And so he was like, well, you know, essentially was saying like I was the little bitch. He didn't say it like that, but essentially. And I was just like, okay, sir, like what? And one of the bars that we went to, I don't know if you remember this, but it was like later in the night. I don't know where the fuck we were, but we were sitting in a booth and there were TVs all around it. On the
porn.
It was porn.
Like hardcore.
Oh, hardcore BDSM, like beating each other up. Like, and it was just on all the TVs, and he was into it. He liked it.
Oh, God.
And I was like, okay, so I was your bitch. You like this porn. You want to make out with my friend. Like, what is going on?
That is the location in which he told me, I wish I could kiss you, but you're in a relationship.
Oh,
and I was like, I think this was my face.
No, thank you, sir. It was a weird night.
And then I left the booth that I was sitting at.
Yeah. Well, we kept our distance from him. At this point, I'm very drunk and like dancing in some like strobe light somewhere, but away from him as much as possible. Yeah. But anyway, it was a really eventful night. It was fun.
Anarchy.
But it was anarchy. I don't know. It was chaos.
It was chaos.
Pure chaos.
It was like, it had some fun moments. It had a lot of fun moments.
So that's one of our many, many vampire stories. Yeah. But that is a true story. I also, when I went to visit Salem, I wanted to, there's a lot of vampires there as well. And I went to Maison de Vampire, which is a really great place. You should totally go there if you go to Salem. And I wanted to get a psychic vampire reading. So I was like, wow, this is amazing. So I picked the woman, of course, because I want to be with the woman vampire. Okay. So I pick her, and she was incredible. She was very accurate with her reading, so highly recommend. I think her name is Alexis. I'm almost positive. One of the things that she said to me that stayed with me, and this is where I'll leave you with the vampire shit. Mm-hmm. She said, as a vampire, mm-hmm. I'm telling you that you should be very, very careful doing a documentary on vampires and immersing yourself with people who are vampires.
Ominous.
Yeah, spooky. I'm like, from the
vampire's mouth. From the mouth of the vamp.
From the mouth of the vamps.
Yeah.
I mean, directly. And she was just like, I know it's weird coming from me, but like it's the right thing for me to tell you that.
You got to be careful.
You have to be careful. You have to protect your energy. And that was one of the things she said, is she said, your energy is really like delectable for certain kinds of vampires, because I'm a very like
energetic golden retriever.
I'm a golden retriever lesbian. Okay. Yeah. Like I just have energy to spare. I love people. Boop bop a dee bop. Yeah. So, and you're like that too, but you're more protective than me.
I am more protective of my energy.
100%. I'm working on it.
But I do feel like absolutely, you know, like anything, like humans in general, vampires can be manipulative. They can be good. They can be bad. They can be in between. So you got to be careful. And you always, not just if you know about that you're going to be near a real vampire, but just in general, you need to protect your energy. You need to be conscious of your energy. You need to imagine that you are protecting your energy so that you are.
Absolutely. I mean, but seriously though, because like places like New Orleans, like hotspots like that, especially.
Yep.
Yeah. So, okay. We love you, little fuckers.
We love you. Thank you for listening.
If you want to support us, go to our Patreon.
Yes. Hang out with us.
Please.
Be our friend.
We have a Patreon. It's patreon.com/The Coffin Club. You go there and we have tiers for all of the productions. Well, not all of them, but all the productions that are like really cooking right now. They have their own separate tiers. So we have Follow the Woo tiers. We also have the Queer Crypt tiers, which if you haven't followed the Queer Crypt on TikTok or other social platforms, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I mean, this is like the paranormal research junkie of all the land. In all the land. Anyway, fucking you guys are great.
You're
okay?
Fantastic. We love you.
We love you.
And we'll talk to you soon.
Okay. See you next week, bitches.
Bye.
Maybe that's paranormal at this point.
What are we going to do?
The camera thing keeps messing up. But every time we do paranormal investigations, things like this happen. Thank you for following the woo with us today. If you love what you heard,
please give us a rating, give us a follow wherever you listen to podcasts.
Give us a review if you feel so inclined.
We'd love that.
You can also check out the new videos of these podcasts on our YouTube channel, which is the New Blood Universe
YouTube account.
There you can also find out what other productions we're up to. You can also check out newblood.tv and meet the crew, get like little bios about us.
Check out our website, check out our store.
Yes, more coming to the store soon. And if you're really, really invested,
check out our Patreon.
We're going to be doing some wild shit. We may be
summoning a demon. Hopefully
you never
not.
know. Check us out at patreon.com/The Coffin Club, which now encompasses not just Follow the Woo podcast, but Megan's amazing TikTok about the paranormal, the queer crypt, and many other productions that we have going on.
If you've experienced something magical, spooky, mystical, weird, some kind of strange encounter, or there's just a topic you want to see us discuss, email us at followthewoo@gmail.com.
And if you want to become part of our public overall New Blood Universe Discord community, which will be different than the private Patreon one, that's where we get into the real nitty gritty, then you can go to newblood.tv and just scroll down to join the Discord. You are the best.
And we are so excited to have you part of our spooky community.
Yes. And remember, if it feels right,
follow the woo.